Introduce Adriano, but before I do that, he doesn't know it, but I've got a little surprise. Just give me a moment with the technology and we'll see something, hopefully.
Bene, caro Adriano, complimenti, congratulazioni vivissime per la nomina a presidente del club Rotary Adelaide, anno 2019-2020.
Siamo tutti orgogliosi che un brindisino abbia raggiunto una vetta così importante. Arrivederci.
Un abbraccio vi giunga da Brindisi, un caloroso abbraccio nel Rotary. A presto.
I'm sorry about the volume for the linguistically adept, but that's okay. Adriano or Giuliano and others will give you a translation a little later. The rest of us were just happy to see the smiling faces, which were indeed the president-elect of Brindisi Velasio Rotary Club and the district governor of the region in Puglia. And they put that together to congratulate complimenti our new president. So I'll send our response and we'll post it on our Facebook page. Rotarians and guests, it's time to meet the president. Would you please welcome to the podium Adriano Cisternino. Have a seat. Welcome to Meet the President 2019-20. An institution which was put in place a few years ago, including our member here, Tony Pilkington, who started the ball rolling in doing these sort of interviews. So bear with us for the next 20 minutes or so, where we'll go through some questions of Adriano, some responses. I'll kick him in the knees or the shins or somewhere on his body if he goes on too long, or he'll kick me if I go on too long. And of course, at the end, there'll be some room left for a couple of questions, if you have them, of the new president. Right, so let's get going. Adriano, welcome to the podium, and again, congratulations on your, from all of your members and on behalf of them for your induction as the president of the club.
Thank you. Thank you. And thank you all for the support that I've received. It has been, as I said earlier, overwhelming and fantastic. June has been an incredibly interesting month. I did get ready for it. It takes it to another level, I think. And yeah, obviously we've been working on introducing some new stuff as well, which has probably hasn't helped us. But I think it's all for the best for the club going forward, so they're all very important aspects. But more about that later, we'll discuss it a bit later, I think we'll cover it. I love our club deeply, and I'm incredibly excited for the journey ahead. And I need to also say, I don't think I've mentioned it yet, I've got an amazing team who's doing all my work, really, so I'm very spoiled.
Yeah, tell us about it.
Before the next question, Peter, I just want to say thank you so much for that. I get a bit emotional, but
that's right.
Tongue. Yeah. Well, thank you. That message from Brindisi was beautiful. Yeah.
That message was put together, by the way, by Fabrizio Cisternino, Adriano's younger brother, who's lived and worked in Adelaide with Adriano, and of course the wonderful Josepina Cisternino, Adri's mum, who are both members of the Rotary Club of Brindisi Velasio, where Simon, Drew and I, and maybe some others in the room have had the pleasure of their company. It's a great club. Speaking of Brindisi, Adriano, you were born in Brindisi, Puglia, the first and oldest child of and a son to Antonio and Josepina, two wonderful people. Tell us about your formative years.
I was very lucky to be born in an amazing family. From a very humble beginning, my dad had to start working quite early. He he had to help financially his family, so he started working, had to leave school at 14, start working, and by the time he was 18, he had already opened his first business, and so, which we'll touch in a minute. I think the other thing I want to say is, which it's a business that ended up with the purchase and the store from south of Italy, store here in Adelaide. Is you know, the core values of my family and my dad and mom in particular have been, brought to us have been always honesty, integrity, super hard work ethics, very family oriented, and I think if you in my parents' scale of priorities in life, I think the business and us kids were definitely in front of themselves, so that they just put always themselves behind. I was very lucky to grow having a very comfortable life, pretty much everything. However, I was very aware of the sacrifices and the work that was going behind the scenes from my parents to allow us to do that. I think because my dad started so early in life, he sort of wanted to relive a stage of his life that he hadn't been able to live through us kids, and I was very grateful for that. As I said, he opened this workshop at 18, was a watchmaking workshop, and when he would come back home, he would bring me, as a very young kid, mechanical watch movements that he would say, just pull this apart. He had a little workbench at home as well, where he would do some of his work after hours. And he said, just pull this apart during the day, and that was the easy part. And then he would say to me, now, tomorrow put it back together. And that was a night, an absolute night. With hundreds and hundreds of little parts, and you don't remember where. You have to just have to memorize where they all go. I think it really inspired me to love. It really inspired me to love mechanical, complex engineering items, marvels. Dad obviously spoiled us, and that made me quite a naughty teenager. But as I say, nothing that Annabelle couldn't fix later on once we met. At 15, I was attending my family business board meetings. My family business by then had grown to quite a decent sized organization that Dad could not just manage by himself, so he put a board around himself. And on that board ended up bankers and university professor, which he had met as an 18-year-old commuting between Brindisi and Lecce, going to open his shop, which was in a nearby town. And so on the 1 hour train ride every day, he was sitting with these kids that were going to study and later on became his best mates. Puglia is, you've been there. It's an amazing land, I love it. It's I just want to say, I really love both places. I love Adelaide and I love Puglia back. It's a thin piece of land with two beautiful seas on each side, the Ionian and the Adriatic Sea. Only less than Adelaide to go around the way to the Greek islands, to some beautiful Greek islands, Corfu, Paxos, Lefkas, Zacinto, and the Ionian Greek islands are as beautiful as the Aegean one. Amazing weather, amazing food, amazing people, very generous land. People are very generous and welcoming, and amazing sea, which ends up being the reason why I later on end up in Adelaide, because of my love for the sea.
I can, you no doubt guess by now, we have a very passionate person as our president this year. And it's wonderful that he's got such a positive feeling about people and about place. And talking about his family is something that Adri is very proud of doing. And thank you to Annabelle, we have some wonderful memories on the screen. Adri put a whole lot of files together, and thankfully Annabelle went through and culled out a lot of them. So So you're seeing the expurgated, the censored highlights of Adriano's life. Adri, you were schooled in Brindisi, went to university in Bari and Modena, studied in Oxford and Lausanne, and you quote Dickens, "The human soul has definite purpose to evolve in knowledge." How important is education to you?
Education is super important. However, to me, there is more than just education. To me, I take it with a broader approach and think of knowledge itself. So it's not just academic education, that's what I mean. Although I went to, in Italy, the school system is very different from here. Once you finish middle school in year 8, from year 9 to year 12, the 5 years of high school, you have to select a path in year 8. And that path brings you to making a choice that you can't reverse. So I chose one of the licei, which are the higher type academically school you can take. The two, at the time in which I did it, there is more licei now that you can do with other specialization, but when I did it, there were only 2. And one was the one chosen by people that would end up with a career as a lawyer or a doctor. And I chose the other one, which is the scientific one, which was very math-based, and that it's taken by engineers and scientists or physicists. And, but we still studied Latin in that school. We still studied philosophy. So very, very, really good school, and academically really, really good school. I didn't like school. I thought it was not a waste of time, but I just did the minimum, the bare minimum to never fail anything. And then I looked at life externally as well. I just wanted so much from whatever else life could offer, not just school. And so I did, the university I did was, it's Economia Commercio, which is the one that accountants do in Italy. Although it only misses, we do 30 exams, and out of those 30, with an extra 10 after this degree, I could have become a lawyer in Italy as well, because we do a lot of law exams. I did, again, I did that because from a family perspective, we thought it was going to be relevant to the business at that stage, and probably not what really I love doing, which I discovered later on in life. But, it was still a very good background knowledge for me to have and experience. I love learning. I love learning new skills all the time, and I think that's how we really acquire knowledge. And so that's my quote on Dickens. You learn by traveling. You learn by doing so many things in life. Okay. So it's not just limited to academic.
You decided to make a move to Australia. What motivated you to do it? And tell us about how you came to take over an established jewellery firm in Adelaide, which a number of the members here will be familiar with.
We basically got to a point with our family. I was actually still missing 6 or 7 exams. I'm just going to do a bit of a parenthesis here, so I hadn't finished my university degree when I came to Australia the first time, and I finished my 6th exam when I went back with Annabelle and Azzurra, because my mum had kept paying the taxes every year, not for me to lose the right on the 22, 23 exams I'd done. Just put the volume down. And yeah, so we basically had got to a point where we needed to open another store, and we wanted to open a store far away from south of Italy. So I was thinking to do that in Modena, where I was studying at that stage, and we went to Switzerland to that which every March, April, towards the end of March, holds the most important trade show for jewelry, the Basel show. And we used to go every year, and we used to be connected to some of the big Swiss watch companies, Piaget in particular. They were family friends. So, and from there, we mentioned we were opening a shop in north of Italy, and the sales director said, "Why north of Italy?" He said, there is much better places. And I asked him, I said, what do you mean? And he said, Canada or Australia. And I thought, yeah, that's interesting. And he knew I'd spent a lot of time as a kid in England, holidaying in summertime. I could speak English. So he said, and he knew my personality, so he said it would be really good for you. And so he showed me a brochure, me and my dad, a brochure of, he had just purchased one of the villas built at the Marina Mirage in Port Douglas from Christopher's case in '88. And he said, why, look at this place. He said, you'll have to see, it's, because I said, Canada, forget it, it's never going to happen. And he said, but look at this place then if you like the sea and good weather. So as soon as I saw that, I said, okay, organize a trip for me and my dad to come over. And he did in June '88. We spent the whole month here, 4 weeks, 1 week in each city. He booked us in the best hotel. We stayed at the Hyatt in Melbourne and Regency in Sydney, Hilton in Brisbane, and here in Adelaide. The Hyatt didn't exist in '88. And in Brisbane it was Expo here. So there was a lot happening, but it looked like the Far West to me. I think Sydney, Sydney, who cannot like Sydney? You know, it's amazing, but I think Dad felt a bit uncomfortable parking his 23-and-a-half-year-old son in Sydney. So, so he basically then moved to Adelaide, and Adelaide seemed to have the right size, and so we chose Adelaide. And there was an opportunity to take over an existing business. And what you see in that video is the second version. It's not what we bought. This is what we made, basically, and we did the fit out from Italy for this particular shop, and which we then closed in '96 when we ended up going back to Italy.
Good.
Still today, that I reckon would be the best jewelry store in Adelaide.
Now, I'm going to have to put the shackles on you to time. But I'm going to ask you the question, how did you get involved in what you do these days in your current business? And tell us a bit about what you do and how you came about to do it and who you work for.
Yeah, I basically, as I was running the business, I outgrew the software that was available to run that business here in Adelaide. For the first time I had a business for myself, and I thought, yeah, it's, you know, I want to do it in a certain way. My accountant was Philip Pledge from Ernest & Winnie in those days, EY today, and they tried to give me a software that I would be happy with, but we couldn't come up with one, and so I started developing my own. By this time, I was already going out with Annabelle, so I had a lot of free time at home that I could spend on the computer. Yeah, so I brought a Mac Plus with me from Italy, which I used to use to do the reports for the board for my dad, exporting data from a mainframe system via serial cable. So that became here the first tool with which I started developing in Excel, then FileMaker Pro, then fully relational databases, and I started developing this software. I got to a point that I became an Apple registered developer by night and a jewelry retailer by day. And I think that the software at one point, Tasmania, in those days, early '92, I think '93, was probably one of the best solutions in the market for macOS operative system, which was very unusual as a platform for a point of sale stock control software. Eventually, there was an opportunity for my dad to upgrade his system in '93, and it was quite an expensive exercise. It was going to cost him $500,000 then. And I said to Dad, I'll come back, I'll do the software, because they wanted to upgrade him to an IBM AS400 system, which was very expensive and cumbersome. I thought PC were ready. And Dad accepted. I don't know if he accepted because he thought I could pull it through, or because he wanted us back. Azzurra
get the grandchildren.
Azzurra was born, so he wanted us back. And he said, otherwise I'm not going to see him back in Italy. And, but then we did that. It was a massive undertaking. I ticked all the boxes, started selling to suppliers in Italy, and realized that that's what I want to do.
Wonderful.
Right now, my biggest client and project in Adelaide, as you know, is Meals on Wheels. We looked at their old system, and we have been rebuilding it from scratch on a completely different platform, looking after 80 branches in South Australia. We've got 40 live on the new system that I'm developing with a combination of PHP and Java for Sonia. Probably should be the only one that will follow that, and as a language, and MySQL as a backend database that runs the system. We've got 40 branches live and 40 to go by the end of this year, and pretty much the core of the development has been done.
So you reckon you know your stuff?
I know my stuff.
Good. It's reassuring for the people who know you and work with you. Oh, I forgot it. There's going to be the few R's and Ums. Please go ahead. They're lovely photos. Adri, you've said that anything that is loved with an intense and high level of passion and respect acquires a soul. Nice words. You have a number of passions, your wife Annabelle, and your children Azura and Xavier are at the top of the list, although you recently added Pablo too. But many of us know that the sea is your good place, happy place. Tell us about adrenaline and the tunas which you love going to sea to catch.
I think people touching on that phrase, that quote, I think people fall in love with objects all the time. It can be a car, it can be a boat, it can be a book, a house, a garden, the ocean, as we said. And I think these objects develop a soul, a gender. It is true, is a true loving relationship you can have with objects, so that you bring them to life. And my definition of that is that what is the meaning of a soul? It's really something that we cannot see or touch, but we can communicate and interact with, and it makes us feel something. I don't know if that could be a definition of a soul, but that's what it makes sense to me. My family is everything to me, as you've mentioned. Nothing matters to me more. However, some things come close. Pablo has definitely become family now, and I've received so much love from my parents, an amazing amount of love. So I felt I had to give that gift, which is the best gift I've ever received, to my kids. Let's move on. I was, as I said before, another thing that touches me is the sea. Surrounded by sea from when I was a kid. It's the place where I was born had amazing sea, still does, and it makes me, it puts me into a good place. It's the right place for me. When I'm there, I feel I belong, I change, I'm a slightly different person.
You relax?
Yeah, I relax.
Oh.
A little bit. No, I'm still intense on the boat as well, but in a different way. And yeah, it's just like, it's interesting. I used to love driving cars. There is an interesting story on how I fall in love with the sea, which was to do with, I got picked up by police twice for speeding as soon as I arrived here, and I realized you couldn't speed in Australia. So I said, what about if I get on the water? Is there a speed limit? No, that's where I'm going. Let's see who is going to tell me off. And so that's how the adventure started. And I have to say that being on a small boat, 8-meter boat, in the middle of Investigator Strait, traveling at night time in a 25 knots, 30 knots sea, is an experience that cannot be compared with anything in terms of the adrenaline that it generates. You obviously need to have a machine and a vessel that you can count on 100%. So you need to, it's like driving an aeroplane across the Pacific Ocean. You need to have everything perfectly working like a beautiful machine, but when that comes through, it's just spectacular.
Yeah. That's your happy place.
It is,
yeah.
By far.
Amongst the quotes, which I did some research on Adriano's Facebook and other pages, you've also said that life's not about the amounts of breath you take. Life is about the moments that take your breath away. Nice words. What would you like to achieve in the coming Rotary year?
How do you come up with such great questions?
Challenge you.
Okay. I think I've covered a lot of what I want to do in the changeover speech, which I've also wanted to distribute with the bulletin. So I think people have got a bit of an idea. Mainly, I think in a nutshell, I could say that I want to keep our club at the forefront of Rotary. We've always been a leading club and a shining star in the Rotary world, as far as I'm concerned, and I would hope that we can keep the Rotary Club of Adelaide up there. I would like to offer amazing value for our membership. People can easily volunteer these days and do community service work for free. You don't have to pay a membership fee. So I think we need to be able to offer great value for the membership fee that we charge our members, and make sure that that value keeps increasing and wants people queue outside the door to be part of this great organization. A key part of this added value to me would cover many aspects of community service, of course, where we need to be shining in that aspect, because a lot of people come to us for that, and to do amazing projects, as we are investing more heavily now in the international sides of things. And thanks to Jeff, who is doing an amazing job, Miller. And, but I would also first like to connect our members between each other, and then connect our members with people across the world. which funny enough has ended up being Mark Maloney, you know, my president. I didn't really inspire myself from that, but it was already in my mind, so it's been a beautiful coincidence this year. With Adri president obviously having you know, a theme that was so close to what my idea were. Going into a bit more details, we will be working to improve the treasurer's process to achieve better accuracy and efficiency. We're all volunteers, so keeping things simple is the key. We will be pushing online booking, offering discounted rates. We will be rewarding members who pay their fees on time, and in so doing make our volunteers' job easier. Chasing late payers, I think, as me and Heidi and everyone else and Rob would tell you, is the worst job you do as a leader of this club. It's not a job that we should be doing. And I don't enjoy it a lot. And we will introduce a series of business-focused events, both at our lunches and with a new monthly evening event. This will be held every first Tuesday of the month at the Bodyline Bar at Adelaide Oval. First meeting kicks off on the 6th of August, and I ask you all to be there because it's going to be an amazing meeting. We've got Phil Hoffman, who will be the expert on the couch discussing business-related matters, and we're hoping to have Greg Nagy, and which I know is here. I've seen it. Yep. Hi, Greg. And Byron Gregory following in September and October. These meetings will provide an extended network and fellowship opportunity for our members, as well as allow to bring us guests and partners. More importantly, they will provide our younger and new members that cannot make lunch meetings at the moment because of work, an opportunity to stay involved with another social event. And I have to really take the opportunity to say thank you to Nation and our great partner Nation. We have developed our branding for this event, which has been unveiled for the first time today. Nation has been amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. Well done.
We will continue to improve the website. We're going to try to bring the members area into the new website front end so that we've got a much simpler, unified portal for all of our members. And we will, of course, continue our great work into the community service, as I was saying before, at all levels. What I've just mentioned is just a little brief showcase, but we have distributed our strategic plan where there is a lot more details. We've encouraged feedback from all the members. At the end of the day, as I said in my induction speech, is about you, is about where you want this club to go, and that's where ultimately we'll take it.
Like all good guest speakers, he's run us close to the wire on question time, but there is a few moments. And I was going to quote another of your favourite quotes, Adri, is from Plato. Who more knows that he doesn't know. Have a think about it. Which is a nice segue to a couple of questions, and Richard kindly has got the microphone. So do we have any questions from the floor? Looks like you could get off scot-free, Adri. Ah, David Egan. IPDGPP, David Egan.
Thank you, Adri. It was wonderful to hear your background, your family and everything else. Absolutely insightful. What a lovely beginning to life you've had. I'm really impressed with your business networking approach. One of the issues that we have with clubs that do that is that they don't actually get them across the line as members. Do you have any thoughts or plans on how you can do that?
Yeah, I think we're very well, as a club, we've very well tried the avenue through the membership night that we've been doing and events.
Thanks, John.
So I think my avenue of increasing membership by this event, it's a soft sell. It's not an hard sell. I think I want our members first to have an opportunity to get together and to get to know each other. That's the priority number one. And then it's also creating a sort of business aspect to Rotary, which was what very present in Rotary, it still is in the non-Western countries. So they are the two things. I think membership will follow if we get that right. It's a bit what I was saying before about not the price driving people behind the door wanting to join us, is what we do. If we do things right, I think people will want to be part of what we do. And so to me, that's the approach I have. I think we will have brochures, we will have guest speaker for the following 3 weeks there, but we won't talk about it. There'll be subtle things there, and we would want people to ask and say, actually, I love this. What else do you do as a Rotarian? You know, and the question will come from them to us rather than us having to sell it to them.
One more? Okay. Thank you. You'll have plenty of opportunities to collar the President over the next 50-odd weeks. Adri, thank you. Before I thank Adri formally, I do have a couple of other thanks that I want to make. I've already thanked Annabelle for the pictures. Can I thank Mr. John Harmer on piano? Behind every good presentation, there's an equally better presentation coordinator, and John's fantastic. You add to it, please.
One thing, I got a bit emotional before. Just a thank to, again, Greg, Wallace, Joe, and Judy, and the whole team and Nation. Not just with this event, but the work they're doing has just been outstanding, yeah. And I just choked up a little bit before, and I couldn't get through.
Understood. Not too much applause, it only encourages them. No, well done, because Nation are also doing some great work for Trailblazer. The second thanks goes to Jeff Wagner is away with grandchildren duty interstate, and so we've had a bit of an interesting meeting today with filling in the role of secretary. The most important task today, that of bell ringer, has been taken on by Belinda and Sonia. Thank you, Belinda and Sonia. Strong wrists. As you know, in my vocation, I celebrate life mainly. I don't do too many weddings, I mainly celebrate life. And one of the comments that I make in the celebrations that I conduct is it's not until those sort of occasions that you actually get to hear about the person whose life you're celebrating. So today it's wonderful for all of us, and David quite amply said that, it's wonderful for all of us to hear a bit of an insight for the man that's going to lead us. And as my father said, behind every good man there's an equally better woman, and we know that. And he adds, an equally surprised mother-in-law. Adriano Cisternino, President 1920, thank you for your time. And I'm going to give you a presentation. I know some of you, indeed many of you, are going to be very disappointed, but we don't have any more lightsabers to give away. The Adler light pen and whatever has gone. Adriano, in his wisdom this year, is going to present, or the speaker's host will present on his behalf and the club's behalf, to each of the guest speakers a certificate, something similar to this. And it basically says, for addressing our weekly lunch meeting, a donation has been made in your name to a Rotary Club of Adelaide charity. So Adriano, #1 ticket holder is you. Thank you for your time. Would you please thank Adri in the usual way?
Thank you.
They're standing. Well done, mate.
So thank you again all very much, and a special thank you to our visiting, our guests today, Annabelle, Sarah, Gary and Rick. Thank you for joining us. We hope to see you again in the future. Next week, our guest speaker will be Lainey Anderson. Lainey is the program ambassador of the South Australian Epic Flight Centenary in 2019, and she will be talking about the first flight across the world. For that meeting, we will be back in the Cathedral Room, and please consider bringing along partners and guests. I wish everyone a wonderful week, and I declare our meeting closed.